Is Light Yagami a psychopath, narcissist? Perhaps he's someone that is evil and twisted. Perhaps he's only moved by his biological and psychological inclinations. Or maybe he's a pragmatist hero and the savior of the world who sought to build an ideal new world regardless of the methods applied in the pursuit of such noble goal. This video attempts at unveiling these mysteries. Welcome to Kanjiro channel, where we mix psychology and philosophy with anime, because I believe that wisdom should be taken from wherever it can be found, even in anime. Early signs of high ego. Light Yagami displayed a few signs that unveil his egotistical dimension in the first chapter after he killed his second victim. To make sure that the note is really working, his initial impression was deeming the death note as evil and thinking he should get rid of it immediately. However, his ego got in the front, not only to justify his killing but to make it noble as well. His ego helped him strengthen the body of his beliefs by reminding himself of how corrupt the world is and how he can be the savior of the world. The burden of being a savior. Light Yagami justified his use of the Death Note by being a hero that everyone wants, but most don't dare to express due to its controversial nature. He believes that people are most honest in their private moments when there is no one around to judge them, which was confirmed in the public reaction that was expressed through online websites that glorify Kira as a savior from hell that has resurrected to punish evil and save humanity. The burden of clearing the world from scum comes with high pressure and responsibility, especially when he's holding a lot of power both between his hands and in his brain, making him lose the feeling of boredom and emptiness, replacing it with excitement and pride. This is the point where the divergence of Light Yagami from his original purpose started to come out. How behavior shapes one's identity. By thinking he can be the savior of this world, he put himself in the position of God, playing with people's destiny, determining the value of human life, deciding what is right and wrong, and who is right or wrong. It's a position that no one deserves except for someone that is perfect, which is God. In other words, he titled himself to be a god. This new identity will apparently influence his behavior and mentality. In his book, The As-If Principle, the psychologist Richard Wiseman highlights the central idea of the book being the as-if principle, which has the following premise. Unlike the conventional wisdom that persists that emotions influence our actions, actions influence our emotions as well, making it a reciprocal relationship. He explained this principle in a much simpler way, which is this. The author documented the history of the as-if principle being discovered by William James, an American pragmatist philosopher and a psychologist who established the principles of psychology. How identity influences behavior. An identity is guaranteed to make one behave in accordance to it, which makes it a foundational element. The actions of Light Yagami made him feel superior because actions related to judgment and to interfering with fate are associated with God. He felt as if he's God over the people, making him gradually construct an identity of superiority and glory. This identity was a definitive factor to his future unethical and detached acts. According to a systematic scope and review on the role of identity in human behavior, identity is suggested to be more useful in predicting intentions and behavior. Kira's psychopathy, no middle ground. The psychopath has no middle ground when categorizing his relationships with individuals. You are either his best friend or his worst enemy. If you are of no use to the psychopath, you actually don't exist to him. You are worthless, meaningless. You simply are not there. If you, on the other hand, pose an obstacle to him, a challenge to be competed with, even in the slightest, you will be categorized as a villain. Upon observing Light Yagami, I was able to recognize his black and white placement of his social circle. He either enjoys his interactions with individuals to the point of lust when knowing that he can abuse them like little toys of his, or feels extremely disgusted, personally threatened or challenged during his clashes with people who refuse to succumb to his purposeful charm and who refuse to give up their individuality to a predator. people are mere objects. Psychopaths identify and interact with those objects and manipulate them by exploiting those core elements. When Misa Amane first met Light at his house, she told him her story, but Light was still unsure and hesitant about her, which made her show him how willing she is to serve him, be of benefit to him, and prove how much she is willing to do in order to gain his trust, including sacrificing half of her life and using Shinigami eyes and giving him her death note. Upon receiving this pack of information, he identified the core elements that make up her character on top of the tools she possesses and found them to be of use to him, which convinced him to accompany her and show her a sign of admiration. Power is not external, but rather internal. The psychopath has a high sense of grandiosity, but unlike the narcissist, the psychopath gains his grandiosity from within. His high opinion of himself is legit, and he's able to forge it via daydreaming about his role in achieving an ideal goal. His sense of value is not gained from external factors such as receiving narcissistic supply, which is love, attention, admiration, applause, and so on. The external factors have another role, which is confirming his already built, grandiose image of himself. Gaining respect or achieving a goal is a way for him to further verify what he already thought of himself. This attribute matches Light perfectly, since he daydreams about an ideal world that is made possible by him via punishing wrongdoers, along with the people who refused this change. He even titled himself as Justice. He is now unbound by the inferior morality of these pathetic beings. He himself is justice. He decides morality. In his mind, he is the god that without him, justice ceases to exist. This daydreaming process is what forms his feeling of superiority. People's judgment are a mere complement to what he tells himself. This can be observed when Light Yagami looked at the websites praising Kira and his work as a savior who can't stand injustice. The pride he felt can be clearly noticed. It is a feeling that confirmed his inner convictions, since he already believed that people secretly feel that it's fair and morally sound to kill those who do heinous crimes, but secretly hide it in order to avoid being judged. Anxiety. The achievement of a goal empowers the psychopath because he has an underlying general anxiety that makes him seek to destroy people who he deems as obstacles and use people who he considers assets as a consequence of him having a worldview that is built on seeing people as competitors that are there against him. This worldview is one that motivates the psychopath into exploitation and seeking high goals. It also leads him to being selfish because he is constantly so in danger that he needs to save himself from the monsters surrounding him. Kira's anxiety shines a couple of times in the series, the same anxiety that made him act like a dumb emotional kid rushing to write L's name. When L told Kira that he's evil with a smirk that implies that he's challenging his ideals, you can see how Kira got immediately offended and started yapping like a teenager about how he's justice and how he's the god of the new world. It is the same anxiety that made him willing to burn his house if someone opens the drawer or the death note lies in the wrong way. The same anxiety that made him willing to kill his family members if he needs to. Psychopaths are excellent at fitting in with society. As we watched, Light Yagami is talented in merging with society and putting on the face of an average student, spending time with colleagues, going on dates, doing his hobbies, and so on. This was one of the things that allowed him to deter suspicion. He was able to fool everyone, including the Kira task force. The ultimate example of this is when the FBI agent Ray Penba followed Light Yagami to gain information about Light's routine, and the front he was presenting to people was so excellent that the agent did not suspect him at all. To top it off, he scripted a crime scene that enabled him to exploit the agent's trust to the point of showing him his ID card, which was of course a big mistake. Why I don't see him as a narcissist. Narcissists and psychopaths might appear to be quite similar or even identical in some cases, But in order to successfully differentiate the two, you have to focus on the internal factors instead of the exterior ones, because different motivations can lead to similar consequences. They both have grandiosity, lack empathy, use people like toys, employ charm and charisma to seduce people. However, internally the difference between the two is that the narcissist, due to the way he's raised by his mother at an early age, is unable to separate from his mother and unable to form a personhood, an individuality. He builds an imaginary personality and he makes it up out of everything that he's not. If he's stupid, the false self is smart. If he's weak, the false self is strong, etc. After that, he keeps navigating the world with this facade to the point that the original kid in him disappears and all is left in him is his fake image. The point is, he doesn't value himself, so he has to create an artificial self that ends up using him. He's moved by very big external forces such as insecurity and lack of individuality, that his abuse and mistreatment of others is a mere survival tactic that he unconsciously does in order to maintain that false self, which makes him dedicate his entire life to gaining praise, admiration, and love. Because it is hard to maintain a lie without people amplifying it, the narcissist is like an animal that cannot help but succumb to his biological inclinations. He has no concept of good and evil. All he is concerned with is maintaining his false self via people's admiration, making him not strive for higher goals unless they serve his lust for praise and narcissistic supply. The psychopath, or properly known as anti-personality disorder, on the other hand, gains his high opinion of himself from inside. He's truly and legitimately confident and self-assured. Praise, admiration, love, and respect are mere confirmation of his built-up confidence, unlike the narcissist that without narcissistic supply, he can crumble and be seen literally breaking down. The psychopath does his actions purposefully and intentionally, being perfectly aware of the damage he's inflicting on his victims, while knowing that his actions are evil and immoral. Though Light can be seen insecure in some instances, but that is a result of having general anxiety that psychopaths suffer from due to their competitive thinking. His high opinion of himself has some basis, knowing that he's highly intelligent, disciplined, attractive, and well-behaved in society, making his grandiosity being a false self pretty unlikely. Light also uses people as objects very purposefully, and while being perfectly aware of the damage and morality of his behavior. Everyone is narcissistic to some level though, so he has moments where he lies to himself in order to justify his continuous actions. Psychopaths are also fearless, which aligns with Light since he took many ballsy risks throughout the anime. They also tend to be very calculated, which is something that obviously matches Light's character perfectly. All these attributes and more is what led me to conclude he's a psychopath instead of a narcissist.